I remember the exact moment my life shifted. It was late, way past midnight, the kind of quiet that makes every small sound echo like a warning. I was sitting at the dining table, half awake, browsing through emails I didn't even care about. I just couldn't sleep. Something in the house felt off. Like the air was heavier than usual. I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't trying to dig into anything. But trouble came looking for me. One email popped up, right at the top of the screen. A flight confirmation. Under my wife Emily's name. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Emily did travel for work sometimes, but she always told me when she had a trip coming up. I almost deleted the email out of habit. But something, maybe instinct, made me click it instead. And that's when my entire chest tightened. The flight wasn't to Chicago, where she said she'd be next week. It was to San Diego. A city she had no reason to visit. At least, not one she'd ever shared with me. I scrolled down slowly, hoping I was misreading something. The dates didn't match either. She told me she'd be gone for 2 days. But this ticket showed 3. My hands went numb. I tried to calm myself, telling my brain it was probably a mix-up. A rescheduled meeting. A last-minute change. Something harmless. Then I saw it. 2 seats. Not 1. 2. Booked under the same reservation number. My heart dropped so fast I felt dizzy. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen, trying to convince myself it didn't mean what it clearly meant. The second passenger name wasn't visible. Just the words, guest traveler. A stranger. A secret. A shadow she didn't want me to see. I felt heat rush to my face, not anger yet, just raw disbelief. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of trust. And here I was, staring at a plane ticket that cracked everything open. I clicked through every detail, hoping to find some clue that made sense. But each line pulled me deeper into a truth I wasn't ready for. Wrong city. Wrong dates. 2 tickets. Hidden travel companion. And Emily hadn't said a single word to me. I sat there for a long time, just listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the distant ticking of the hallway clock. Every sound felt louder. Every second felt slower. My mind raced faster than I could control. Why would she lie? Who was she meeting? And what was she hoping I'd never find? 100 questions circled in my head, each one sharper than the last. But I didn't have any answers. Not yet. All I knew was one simple thing: whatever Emily was hiding. This flight was only the beginning. The kind of beginning that makes you wonder how much of your life has been real, and how much has been quietly falling apart behind your back. And in that moment, sitting alone in the dark with the glow of my laptop on my face, I felt something shift inside me. Something that wouldn't let this go. Something that needed the truth. No matter how painful it might be. I used to think our life was steady. Not perfect, not exciting every day, just steady. Emily and I lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Denver, the kind of place where kids rode bikes in circles and neighbors waved at you even if they barely knew your name. We had a 2-story house with a lawn that never stayed green for long, and a porch where we drink coffee on slow Sunday mornings. For 7 years, that was our life. Simple. Predictable. Safe. I worked full-time at a logistics company. Emily was a paralegal at a mid-sized law firm downtown. Our routines were so well-timed that we could almost move through the house without speaking. Not because we were distant, but because we understood each other. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back now, the signs didn't show up all at once. They slipped in quietly, almost politely, like they didn't want to cause trouble. It started with her staying late at work. Nothing unusual. Her firm was always slammed, as she liked to say. So when she came home tired, a little distracted, I didn't question it. I'd heat up dinner, ask about her day, and she'd give me a short version, just work stuff, before heading straight to bed. But then the late nights became late weekends. Team meetings. Emergency filings. New clients with impossible deadlines. I didn't love it, but I trusted her. When you love someone, you assume they're telling the truth. You don't jump to the worst possible story. Still, something felt different. She'd come home with a new energy one day, then be distant the next. Some mornings she'd smile at her phone before she even said good morning to me. And whenever I walked into the room, she'd tilt the screen away, just slightly, like she didn't want me seeing whatever she was reading. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. Work stress can change people. Long days can make anyone quiet or forgetful. But you can only ignore so much. There were nights when she'd step outside to take a call, even when it was freezing out. She never used to do that. And when she came back inside, her mood would shift, lighter, calmer, almost refreshed. Not the way someone looks after talking to a coworker about deadlines. One evening, she came home wearing a new perfume. Something floral and warm, something she'd never worn before. I asked if she bought it for herself. "Oh, it was on sale," she said quickly, almost too quickly. Then she changed the subject. That was the first moment a quiet worry settled in my chest. But I pushed it away. I told myself she deserved privacy. I told myself it was unfair to jump to conclusions. I told myself marriage was built on trust, not suspicion. But reality has a strange way of tapping on your shoulder when you try too hard to ignore it. Because small things kept piling up, tiny pieces that didn't fit the picture of the woman I thought I knew. A sudden interest in new clothes. More makeup. Long pauses before answering simple questions. And sometimes, a look in her eyes I couldn't explain, like she was somewhere else. Sometimes I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I should ask her directly what was going on. But then she'd roll over and hold my arm like nothing had changed, and I'd convince myself everything was fine. But deep down, something was already breaking. And I couldn't see how far it had spread. Now, thinking back to those days before the flight record appeared, one question haunts me: was something happening long before I realized it? If I'm honest, the answer is yes. And that truth still stings. I stared at that flight email like it was written in another language. My mind couldn't catch up with what my eyes were seeing. For a moment, I even blinked hard, hoping the details would somehow change. But they didn't. In fact, the more I read, the worse it got. The first thing that hit me was the city. San Diego. Not Chicago. Not even close. Emily had told me, very clearly, she'd be at a conference in Chicago next week. She said it casually over dinner, like it was no big deal. I even asked if she wanted me to drive her to the airport. She laughed and said she'd take an Uber since her flight was early. But this ticket wasn't early. It wasn't to Chicago. And it definitely wasn't for a 2-day work trip. I scrolled down, and my stomach tightened again. The return date was off. She told me she'd be back Wednesday night. But the ticket said Thursday afternoon. A full extra day. I tried to breathe slowly, but the air felt thick, like I couldn't pull in enough to think clearly. I went over every detail again, hoping there was something, anything, that made it all make sense. Maybe she mixed up the dates. Maybe her office changed her travel plans. Maybe she forgot to tell me. But even as those thoughts tried to calm me, something deeper pushed back. A quiet voice in my mind. A voice I kept trying to ignore. She lied. Before I could talk myself out of it, I scrolled further, and that's when everything inside me went still. 2 seats. Not 1. 2. A double reservation. Same booking number. Same flight. My hand hovered over the trackpad, almost shaking. I stared at that number, 2, like it was glowing, like it was warning me. 2 tickets. 2 passengers. But only one name visible, Emily Harper. The second line simply said, guest traveler. It felt like someone had pulled the rug out from under my entire marriage. Why would she hide another passenger? Why didn't she tell me she was taking someone? Who did she book a secret seat for? My head spun with questions, each one sharper than the last. But I didn't want to believe the worst. Not yet. So I forced myself into logic. Into calm. Into the kind of thinking you use when you're trying not to fall apart. Maybe she booked 2 seats by accident. Maybe the extra one was for comfort. Maybe the system autofilled something. But every maybe I came up with was weak, shaky, and full of holes. There are moments in life when the truth knocks gently. And then there are moments when it kicks the door down. This was the second kind. Still, even with the fear curling in my stomach, I didn't confront her. Something inside told me not to. People reveal more when they think you don't know a thing. And Emily. Emily was acting like she had a whole second life carefully stitched together. If I confronted her too soon, she'd shut down, deflect, twist. I needed to watch. To listen. To gather the truth quietly. So instead of waking her up or marching upstairs demanding answers, I closed the email slowly and sat back in my chair. And I made a decision, I would observe. Not accuse. Not yet. Because this wasn't just a wrong date or a harmless mistake. This was something bigger. A hidden trip. A second seat. A companion she didn't want me to see. And whoever that guest traveler was, they were the first loose thread in a story I never wanted to discover. The morning after I found the flight email, I made one choice: pretend nothing was wrong. It wasn't easy. My chest felt tight, my thoughts were tangled, and every time I looked at Emily, I felt that same cold sting from the night before. But I kept my face calm, my voice steady, like everything was normal. Because if she really was hiding something, I needed to see how far those cracks went. When she came downstairs, she greeted me with this bright, practiced smile, the kind of smile that almost looks perfect, but not real. I'd seen genuine smiles from her for years. This wasn't one of them. This one was rehearsed. Controlled. Held together like tape on a broken glass. She poured her coffee, humming softly, like she didn't have a secret plane ticket sitting in her inbox. Like she wasn't planning a trip she never told me about. I watched her closely. Her new clothes. Her new perfume. The way she checked her phone the moment it buzzed, turning her body slightly away from me. Every little movement looked different now. Later that evening, while we were having dinner, I decided to test her, just a simple question, nothing suspicious. So, what's your schedule like next week? I asked, pretending to be casual. Thinking about taking a few days off. She didn't miss a beat. Not one. She took a sip of her water, smiled like she always used to, and said, "Oh, I'll be in Chicago, remember? That conference I told you about." Chicago. The same lie she told earlier. The same lie she repeated so smoothly, without even hesitating. I nodded, pretending to accept it, even though my stomach twisted. If I hadn't seen that flight email, I would have believed her. Her delivery was flawless, almost too flawless. That's when I realized something painful. She had practiced this. She had rehearsed what she'd say. She knew exactly how to guide the conversation, how to keep me calm, how to make her story sound natural. But even the best lies leave traces. That night, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I didn't touch it, I didn't need to. The screen lit up, just enough for me to see the caller ID. A number. No name. But the same number I'd seen over and over on the phone bill earlier that day. Because yes. I checked the records. I felt guilty doing it, but the truth felt more important than my pride. One number appeared again and again. Morning. Afternoon. Late at night. The pattern wasn't random. It was intentional. And seeing it call her at that moment, when she was just a few feet away, made my stomach drop. Who was he? Why did she talk to him so much? Why was she hiding it? The pieces were lining up in a way that made my throat tighten. This wasn't stress. This wasn't work. This wasn't imagination or insecurity. This was betrayal. Quiet, smooth, carefully covered betrayal. When she walked out of the shower and saw me sitting there, she didn't notice anything was wrong. She smiled, said she was exhausted, and climbed into bed like everything was fine. I lay there beside her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing settle. And in that moment, I made myself a promise: I will uncover the truth. Completely. No matter how painful it is. Because once you see the cracks, you can't pretend the wall is still solid. I didn't think the truth would come to me so easily. I thought I'd have to dig, search, and work for every piece of it. But sometimes the truth slips out on its own, and when it does, it hits harder than anything you could prepare for. It happened on a quiet Tuesday morning. Emily was getting ready for work. She left her phone on the nightstand while she stepped into the bathroom to fix her hair. The shower wasn't running, I could hear her humming to herself. She wasn't far. She wasn't out of reach. But her phone was right there. Face up. Unlocked. And then it lit up. A message popped onto the screen, bold and bright like someone had written it in fire: "Can't wait to see you next week." My heart thudded so hard I felt it in my throat. My eyes went straight to the sender. Daniel K. The same number I saw over and over in the phone records. The number she stepped outside to talk to. The number she smiled at before hiding her screen. And now it had a name. A real name. Daniel. I froze, staring at the phone like it held all the answers to a life I no longer understood. My hands didn't move. I didn't touch the device. I didn't scroll or dig through anything. I didn't need to. That single line, "Can't wait to see you next week," told me everything I'd been afraid to admit. Emily wasn't stressed. She wasn't overwhelmed. She wasn't drowning in work. She was in a secret relationship. A relationship she had built slowly, carefully, right in front of me. The new perfume. The last-minute wardrobe changes. The soft, private smiles she never gave me anymore. The hours spent outside on work calls. The growing confidence in her voice. The sudden spark in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking. All the pieces connected, clean, sharp, and ugly. It felt like the air left the room. Like the walls leaned in around me. Like the floor wasn't solid anymore. I wasn't angry yet. Anger comes later, when the shock fades. In that moment, I just felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything warm inside me and left nothing but cold behind. I sat down on the edge of the bed, staring at the carpet, trying to breathe. Trying to understand. Trying to swallow the fact that this wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't paranoia or insecurity. This was betrayal. Real. Intentional. Planned. And the worst part? She wasn't even trying to hide the joy she got from him. I heard her humming in the bathroom, light, carefree, as if she wasn't living two different lives. As if she hadn't just broken the trust we built over 7 years. For a brief moment, I almost stood up and confronted her right then. The words pushed at the back of my throat, "Who's Daniel? Why are you lying to me? What happened to us?" But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was survival. Maybe it was the part of me that suddenly understood something important. If she could plan behind my back, then so could I. Confrontation would only give her a chance to spin things, twist the story, cover her tracks. She would cry, deny, deflect, and we would go in circles with no real proof. No. I needed to be smarter. Quieter. More strategic. The shift was instant. Pain turned into clarity. Shock turned into focus. This wasn't just about discovery anymore. This was about truth, the whole truth, and what I would do with it. The game had changed. And I wasn't going to play it blind ever again. There's a moment, right after heartbreak, when everything inside you becomes strangely calm. Not peaceful, just quiet. Quiet enough for your thoughts to line up, one by one, like pieces of a plan waiting to be put together. That calm hit me the morning after I saw Daniel's message. I woke up before Emily, staring at the ceiling, feeling a strange mix of pain and clarity. The shock was still there, but it no longer controlled me. It wasn't loud anymore. It wasn't messy. It was steady, almost guiding. If Emily could build a secret life behind my back, then I could build a plan behind hers. And I knew exactly where to start. Evidence. I needed every bit of it. I sat at my laptop after she left for work and opened the flight email again. This time, I wasn't scared. I wasn't shaking. I was focused. I read every line, every number, every detail. 2 seats. Same reservation. San Diego. 3 days, not 2. That alone was enough to expose the truth, but I wanted more. I wanted something undeniable. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called the airline. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "Hi, I'm calling on behalf of Emily Harper," I said, pretending to be her assistant. "Just confirming her reservation for next week." The agent typed for a moment. "Sure thing. I see 2 passengers here." My heart tightened in my chest, but I stayed silent. The agent continued, without hesitation, "Emily Harper and Daniel Keller." There it was. The names side by side. The truth spoken out loud by someone who had no idea they were destroying the last pieces of my marriage. I thanked them politely, hung up, and exhaled a long, shaky breath. Hearing his full name made everything real. Daniel Keller. The man she was planning a secret trip with. But instead of falling apart, I felt something shift inside me again. Heartbreak turned into determination. Pain turned into purpose. I grabbed my mouse and created a new folder on my desktop. I named it Truth. Simple. Sharp. Final. Inside it, I saved everything: screenshots of the email, copies of the reservation, the notes from the phone call, even a picture of the text message I saw on her phone. Every piece mattered. Then I took the next step. If Emily wanted a private getaway with Daniel, I was going to be there too. Not to shout. Not to fight. Not to beg for answers she didn't deserve to give. I wanted her to see the truth standing right in front of her. I wanted the moment to speak louder than any argument ever could. So I opened the airline website and booked my own ticket to San Diego. Same day. Earlier flight. A few hours ahead of theirs, just enough time to get into position, calm myself, and watch the two of them walk out of the arrival gate together. The thought made my chest tighten, but I pushed through it. Because this wasn't about pain anymore. This was about clarity. This was about ending the lie on my terms. When I finished booking the ticket, I sat back in my chair. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to strength. A different kind of strength, quiet, controlled, patient. I wasn't chasing the truth anymore. I had it. Now I was preparing to show it. Heartbreak had been replaced by calm determination. And my plan? It was simple: let her walk into her own reveal. Let her face what she created. Let the truth speak for itself. And I would be there, waiting. I landed in San Diego hours before Emily's flight touched down. The second my feet hit the ground, my heart started racing, not with panic this time, but with a cold, steady focus. San Diego International Airport was buzzing with morning crowds. Rolling suitcases, loud speakers, people greeting each other with hugs, it all felt distant, like background noise in a movie I wasn't part of anymore. I wasn't there as a husband. I wasn't there as a man waiting for his wife. I was there for the truth. And I was ready. I found a spot near the arrival's exit, close enough to see faces clearly, far enough not to be noticed right away. My hands stayed in my pockets, my breathing slow and controlled. I must have looked calm, but inside, every second pulled on a tight wire. Her flight landed at 9:22 a.m. By 9:30, people began pouring out, families, business travelers, couples holding hands. And then I saw them. Emily walked out first, her hair curled, her smile brighter than anything I'd seen in months. She looked relaxed, almost glowing, like this was exactly where she wanted to be. Right next to her was Daniel, taller than I expected, carrying her bag like it was routine, like he had done it 100 times already. They looked like a couple traveling for pleasure, not two people sneaking around behind a marriage. The sight hit me hard, sharp, deep, but I didn't move. Not yet. They laughed at something he said, their shoulders brushed, and for a second, the pain tried to rise in my chest, but I pushed it down. I didn't come here for emotion. I came for clarity. When they were just a few steps away, I stepped forward. Emily's smile vanished. Her whole face changed in an instant, joy disappearing, shock crashing in. Daniel stopped walking, confusion twisting across his expression. They both froze like I had pulled the ground out from under them. "Mark," she whispered, her voice small. What are you doing here?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't look angry or desperate. I simply pulled out my phone and opened the file named Truth. With a steady hand, I held up the flight confirmation, their names side by side. Emily Harper. Daniel Keller. The evidence she never thought I'd see. Emily's eyes widened, her breath catching in her throat. She didn't even look at me, she stared at the screen like it had betrayed her. Daniel stepped back, the realization hitting him too. His hands dropped from her luggage like it suddenly burned. The silence around us grew thick. I could feel the people passing by slowing down, sensing the tension, watching quietly. I locked eyes with Emily. Her face crumpled, fear replacing every ounce of confidence she had walked off the plane with. And then I said the one line I had rehearsed again and again, calm, clear, controlled, "I hope the trip was worth your marriage." Her knees almost buckled. Daniel looked like he wanted to vanish. I didn't give them a chance to speak. I didn't give them a chance to explain. There was nothing left to explain. I turned and walked away, each step feeling like a door closing behind me. No yelling. No chaos. No dramatic scene. Just the truth, delivered in the simplest way possible. And as I moved through the airport, leaving them standing there speechless, I felt something strange, something I hadn't felt since this whole nightmare started. Relief. Because sometimes the most powerful moment isn't when you expose someone. It's when you finally walk away. The house felt different when I finally walked back inside. Quiet, cold, almost hollow, like it already knew I wasn't staying much longer. After the airport, I didn't call Emily. I didn't text her. I didn't need to. I went home, packed a small bag, and stayed in a motel for 2 nights. Not because I was hiding, but because I wanted the silence to settle. I wanted to hear my own thoughts again, not the lies she layered over them. On the 3rd evening, I went back to the house just to grab more clothes. That's when I heard the front door open. Emily stepped inside like a person who had lost everything. No makeup. No bright smiles. Just a tired, drained expression, the look of someone who had run out of excuses. She froze when she saw me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she sat down at the kitchen table and said the words I already knew were coming, "Mark, you were right." Her voice cracked. She didn't try to deny anything. No stories. No defensive tone. Just the truth, finally, after months of hiding. She told me everything. How the late nights weren't work. How the new cases were really coffee dates and small escapes to see Daniel. How she felt distant and confused, and instead of talking to me, she ran towards someone who made her feel seen. I listened, quietly. But her explanations didn't matter anymore. The damage was already done. The foundation of trust wasn't cracked, it was gone. When she finished talking, she looked at me with red, exhausted eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say it." I nodded, not out of softness, but because I understood something in that moment. Her guilt wasn't my responsibility to fix. Slowly, I slid a manila envelope across the table toward her. She opened it, saw the papers inside, and her breath caught. "Separation papers," she whispered. "You all ready?" "I filed them the morning after the airport," I said gently. "This wasn't a mistake you made once. This was a whole second life. I can't rebuild something you chose to break." She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She just nodded, like she knew this was the only ending that made sense. Later, I found out Daniel backed away from her completely after the airport scene. He pulled away fast, apparently he liked the excitement, not the consequences. The moment things became real, he disappeared. Part of me expected to feel satisfaction. Some kind of victory. But instead, I just felt done. A few days later, I moved into a small apartment closer to work. It wasn't fancy, just 1 bedroom, a couch that squeaked, and a view of the parking lot. But it was mine. My space. My start. For the first time in months, I cooked for myself, went for long walks, listened to music I used to enjoy. The quiet didn't scare me anymore. Relief began to replace heartbreak. Not all at once, but slowly, like a weight lifting an inch at a time. I didn't want revenge anymore. The airport moment had already given me closure. Walking away had been enough. And as the days passed, I realized something simple but powerful. Sometimes the ending you never wanted is exactly the beginning you needed. Because when the dust finally settles, you get to see what's worth carrying forward and what's better left behind. If you had told me months ago that a single email would change my life, I would have laughed. Back then, I believed big problems came with big warnings, loud arguments, obvious signs, things you couldn't miss even if you tried. But the truth is quieter. Smaller. It often arrives disguised as something simple, like a flight confirmation you weren't supposed to see. That flight record taught me more about life, love, and self-respect than any moment in my 7 years of marriage. For a long time, I blamed myself for not noticing sooner. I replayed conversations in my head. I thought about the nights she came home late, about the way she guarded her phone, about the smiles I didn't understand. I asked myself over and over again, how did I miss it? How did I not see what was right in front of me? But eventually, something became clear. She didn't break my trust because I was unlovable. She broke it because she stopped choosing honesty. And that difference matters. People change. Relationships evolve. Life gets busy, complicated, overwhelming. But honesty, that's the thing that keeps two people connected even when everything else shifts. The moment one person lets secrecy slip into the cracks, the whole foundation starts to break, piece by piece, one small lie at a time. The signs were there, gentle at first, then louder. Her new perfume. The late-night calls. The last-minute trips. The way she smiled at a message meant for someone else. And even though I ignored my instincts for months, they never stopped alerting me. Looking back, I think that's the real lesson: your instincts speak long before the truth arrives. And you should listen. Not to cause trouble. Not to jump to conclusions. But because ignoring your own intuition is one of the easiest ways to lose yourself inside a situation that's slowly breaking you. I've learned that secrets always leave traces. A lie might hide in the dark for a while, but it eventually slips into the light, sometimes through a text message, sometimes through a shift in someone's voice, and sometimes through a simple airline email sitting in your inbox at midnight. Another lesson I learned, maybe the hardest one, was this: leaving doesn't mean you're weak. Sometimes it means you're finally strong enough to choose yourself. I could have stayed. I could have forgiven. I could have tried to rebuild something she already walked away from emotionally. But choosing myself, choosing peace, choosing truth, that was the decision that saved me. And in the end, walking away opened doors I didn't know I'd closed. I found my own space again. My own voice. My own life. The pain didn't vanish overnight. But relief grew slowly in the empty spaces where heartbreak used to sit. So if anyone listening to this is living in that quiet confusion, if you feel something is off, if your instincts whisper that something isn't right, don't push it away. You don't need proof to trust your own intuition. Proof will come when it's ready. And when it does, you'll know what path to take. Because the truth isn't there to destroy you. It's there to free you. That flight record didn't just reveal my wife's secret. It revealed the life I deserved, one built on honesty, not illusion. And for the first time in a long time, I'm finally living it. If this story moved you, don't leave it here. Hit subscribe and like to support more stories of truth, betrayal, and finding strength again. And remember, sometimes the moment you face the truth is the moment you finally get your life back.